Happy Thursday, everyone. I'm coming to you from hot Atlanta. That term definitely describes this place for an Alaskan being in Atlanta in August. Whew, I'm telling you, it's definitely a different environment. Very beautiful, not quite so used to all of the traffic. I met some friends last night, and they're like, when I put it into MapQuest, it said 16.9 miles, and over an hour later, I finally got there, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding!" And as you can see, the people in the background, I don't think that he'll be very long, but we have a guest doing like a photo bomb in the background, so I apologize. But let's get right to it. So this is Dr. Peter Goldman, and I'm super excited to share him with all of you today. I do have to give kudos out to your assistant, who was very persistent in saying, you got to interview Dr. Peter. You got to interview Dr. Peter. You got to interview Dr. Peter. So great job training her and her persistence. And I'm really excited to get together. I asked Dr. Peter before we went live, hey, can you share like perhaps a couple of like your really awesome success stories in your office right now? And he was like, are you kidding? Like there's so many. Where do I even begin? So I always love hearing that. So Dr. Peter, welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Barbara. I'm super psyched to be here. And I want to say that, believe it or not, that was not my assistant who apparently contacted you. That's one of the students in my online school, the Zone School of Healing, who was so enthused. And she was like, she told me, she's like, there's this woman, Barbara Eaton. She's a super badass. She does a lot of great stuff. And, you know, you guys should connect and you should get interviewed by her. You should interview her also. So that was actually a student of mine who did that. So thank you.
Oh, well, very cool. I love passionate individuals. And, you know, that brings up a really great point of referrals, and something that I have coached doctors on for 19 years is referrals. And that's exactly what she did, is that she took the energy and the love that she has and said, more people have to know about what Dr. Peter is doing. And I said, let's get it on. So let's just jump right in. Give us a, yeah, that's exactly right, Dan. He said, hire that girl. I agree. And Dr. Michael, thank you so much. Oh, snap, two legendary people. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you. And it's our pleasure to lead and inspire and help individuals just like you and others. So I am going to ask all of you right now, click share and make sure that this Facebook Live hits other chiropractors and students. And I know this is going to be a powerful interview because it's all going to be pure chiropractic, baby. So Dr. Peter, let's jump in. Give us a history to get you to this point. Where'd you go to school? What's happening in practice? What are some great things?
Sure. So a little bit about the history. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. And when I was a kid, I grew up in a very naturally oriented family. So our doctor was basically a chiropractor. Like we didn't really go to an MD for anything. And my chiropractor was a direct student of Dr. Thurman Fleet, the founder of Zone Therapy.
So hold on a second. So you know that like I use Thurman Fleet stuff in my boot camp, right?
Never even knew that.
I do. Week 1 is all about Thurman Fleet. So keep going. That's so cool.
That's amazing. Your students. I mean, I know your students were lucky to be in your boot camp anyway. They're extra lucky to use Dr. Fleet.
Yeah, right on.
You know, everyone has their opinion. Who's the greatest chiropractor ever? Was it Didi? Was it Didi Palmer? Was it Gonstead? Was it Thompson? Many say BJ Palmer. That's okay. But anyway, I would say Dr. Fleet was the greatest chiropractor ever. And look at the results he had. I mean, Dr. Fleet basically, and I've said this on other interviews, but I'll repeat that Dr. Fleet, when he was open for business, just open for business, the police in San Antonio, Texas, where he practiced, had to reroute traffic patterns in order to accommodate the people coming to his office. He wasn't having a special event. He's just like, oh, today I'm open from 1 to 5, and the police were out there rerouting traffic patterns.
I love it.
He had to move his office 3 times in order to conform with fire codes because his waiting room in his office was so busy and so crowded. The guy was a legendary healer. Now, when I was in school, even though I grew up going to this disciple of Dr. Fleet and I grew up under that influence, I didn't want to be too tunnel vision. So I wanted to, get to school and check everything out before I went full-fledged with Dr. Fleet's type of work. So when I was in prereqs, my first quarter of prereqs, my second quarter of prereqs, my first, second, third, fourth quarter of school, I went to all the adjusting clubs. I went to the Motion Palpation Club, the Gonstead Club, the Thompson Club, the CBP Club, Network Club. I mean, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And I really, really researched and thoroughly checked out all the techniques. And when I was in about fourth quarter, I determined that Dr. Fleet's work was the best I'd seen as far as results went. And I've been doing it ever since. I graduated school in 97. I've been in practice since 97, strictly using Dr. Fleet's work. I've added my own, touches to it. In fact, he called it zone therapy. I call it zone technique. The results speak for themselves. I think, unfortunately, and we were talking before we got on the recording here, that, chiropractic, as great as it is, much of chiropractic, even for the principled people, they have neck and back pain dominated practices, meaning most people who go to them come for neck and back pain. Of course, if you practice long enough, you'll get your miracle cases here and there, of course. And of course, if you educate people on wellness, or maybe you have a little niche, you do like a lot of pediatrics or a lot of, pregnancy adjusting and things like that. So I'm not saying everyone's doing 100% neck and back, but sadly, the profession is mostly neck and back pain. But I can tell you, because I've learned Dr. Fleet's work, I'll tell you right now, 20% or less of my patients come for neck and back pain. And I'm not talking about after I educated them. I'm talking like on the entrance form when they show up and they're saying why they're at my office. They're coming for things that, entrance form. They're coming to heal things like their liver, their pancreas, their thyroid, blood sugar, blood pressure, autoimmune stuff, trying to get pregnant, asthma, things like that. Of course, people come for neck and back pain here and there, about 20%, but 80% of my patients are coming for the hardcore stuff that most chiropractors never see. And I owe that all to Dr. Fleet.
Did I disappear for a second?
We're back.
We're back. Okay. Now there's feedback. Dan.
I hear you.
I'm always happy when Dan McCoy is watching my Facebook Lives. If you don't have Dan McCoy on your team, I would change that, all of you. Definitely get in touch with Dan. He makes my life, like I have no tech issues because it's only just a matter of texting Dan, or when he watches this, he tells me what to do to make them better. So Dan, I appreciate you. So let's talk about, how have you done that? How have you gone from traditional, the traditional type of practice member, back and neck pain? And I just want to go on record for saying, for those of you who are specializing that, my hat's off to you, because there are a lot of people who are having those kind of challenges in their life, and they're the ones who are on opioids. So please keep doing what you're doing and be a specialist in that. There's nothing wrong with it. Dr. Peter is simply saying, I also do this, and I'm known in my community for the tough cases, the people who've been everywhere else and likely have even given up thinking, you know what, this is as good as my life is going to get. So how have you done that?
I just want to comment on one thing you said. I agree with you, Barbara. Anyone who's helping people, I tip my hat to you. I just want to say this. If you're a chiropractor that says, look, I'm 100% neck and back, and I'm proud of it, because like Barbara said, I'm helping people and good, then I have really nothing to say about that. That's beautiful. My message is to the people saying things like, hey, I'm a nervous system doctor, talking about innate, the safety pin cycle, the green books, straight philosophy, but they're still neck and back pain offices. My message is to you, hey, if you want to be a nervous system doctor, let me show you what's possible. And I do have an online school of healing where I teach that. And I'll show you how you can actually have an office full of people who are coming to you for way more than neck and back pain. That's all I'm saying about that. But I agree with you. Anyone helping any human being, I give them 100% credit.
Yeah. So let's talk about, what do you do? Like, what is the zone technique? Why do you do it? Like, let's go back to when you were going to all of these different clubs at school. What drew you to Dr. Thurman Fleet? Because I've been drawn to him for something totally different. So this is really interesting to me.
What drew me is straight up results. I don't care about philosophies. I don't care about upper cervical philosophy. I don't care about Logan philosophy. I don't care about Gonstead. I don't care if people like leg checks. They don't like leg checks. They x-ray. They don't x-ray. They use modalities. They don't use modalities. I couldn't care less. I care about results. When someone walks in my office and they tell me, look, I've had migraine headaches 7 days a week for 20 years. I've tried 3 chiropractors, 2 medical doctors, 2 acupuncturists, 2 homeopaths, and my head is freaking killing me every day. I'm already in my head and I'm thinking, within 1 month, this person will never have a headache again, because I know how to do that. So I just care about results. I don't care about nothing but results. You can quote me on that 1,000 times. Let's say someone's like, hey, Pete, what do you think about network? Well, you know what? I'm not a huge fan of network, but you know what? If there's a network doctor down the block getting spectacular results, I love them. Let's say someone says, Pete, do you like, are you a big fan of Thompson? Not really. But if someone's like, Pete, there's a Thompson doctor down the street getting amazing results, I love them too. I love results. I don't care really about hardly anything else when it comes to healing besides results. But I'll get to your question. I know I went on 2 tangents since you asked it.
That's okay.
So I apologize. But the zone technique, and by the way, again, let me reiterate. I have a school. It's called the Zone School of Healing. Zonetechnique.com. Zonetechnique.com explains, what I'm teaching. I opened the school in October, roughly October. I think it was October. Opened the school around October. I have about 140 students at the moment, and all over the world. And the reason I opened the school, Barbara, is I have had for 20 plus years patients flying into me from all over the world. Still happens now. Not a week, maybe 2 weeks goes by where I don't get an email from someone in Philippines, Malaysia, Japan, Hawaii, New York, Chicago, saying, hey, Dr. Pete, I have this problem and nothing's working to fix it. I want to fly in to see you. I have no other reason to be in San Francisco, which is where my office is. I'm just flying in to see you. So I've had people flying in to see me from all over the world for every condition under the sun. It's very gratifying. I like it. But I said to myself, you know what? Let me open a school to teach people all over the world what I do so people don't have to fly into me. They can just have access all over the world to the same type of healing that's happening in my office. So that's why I opened the school. Dr. Fleet's technique is a little part of what I teach. The big part of what I teach is the principles of healing. So the principles of healing is the big picture. And if you understand the principles of healing, you can use any technique you want. It just happens the zone technique is the technique I teach in my school.
Okay. So what can you describe, like what is, and let's be clear, the zone technique or the school you're talking about isn't a physical school, it's an online school, correct?
100% true. It's not a physical school. I have not met hardly any of my students in person. I mean, I have a few people in the Bay Area, so they come get adjusted by me, but everyone else is online. It's an online school. And the zone technique itself is basically a technique where you check occipital fibers. It was invented by Dr. Fleet. It was called zone therapy then. I've changed it a little bit, but you feel occipital fibers, and the occipital fibers tell you what's happening in the 6 brain centers. The 6 brain centers that control the glandular system, the eliminative system, nerve system, digestive system, muscle system, and circulatory system. Once you know what's happening in these 6 brain centers, there's specific points on the spinal cord that can be stimulated with your hand or I don't use activator, but you could use it, an instrument if you want. You stimulate the points in the spinal cord. The brain is the positive pole of the body. The spinal cord is the negative pole. You stimulate the negative pole, and it resets the points in the positive pole, and then the brain and the body are in harmony. Now, let me just pause right there. Let's say anything I've just said in the last 2 minutes, not to you, but someone who's watching says, man, it sounds like BS. I didn't learn that in school. What are you talking about? Hey, man or woman, results. You got to think about this. If people are flying in for 20 years and people are driving 5 hours each way to see me for a 3-minute adjustment, and that happens every week, multiple times a week, there must be something going on here with the results. This technique is spectacular, but I'll reiterate, the technique is just a little part of it. It's the big principles of healing that I teach in my school. And then once you understand the principles of healing, you can continue to use Gonstead or Thompson or upper cervical or whatever you want, or you can do the full package and actually use the zone technique too.
Okay. So are only chiropractors in the school, or is it you teach anyone how to use the zone technique?
Great question. I'm surprised you even thought to ask that. It's a really good question because I wasn't even going to go in that direction, but that's very perceptive of you. I have osteopaths in my school. I have acupuncturists in my school. I have naturopaths in my school. I have manual therapists in my school. But 95% of the students are chiropractors.
Okay. And so when they learn it, they're calling it a technique, not an adjustment. Is that correct?
Well, because, like, for example, let's take, osteopaths are very similar to us, so I don't really have to comment on them. But, like, let's say someone is an an acupuncturist. I show them how to feel the points in the back of the head, know what's happening in the brain, and then they put the needles in and around the levels of the cord to heal the brain. But a chiropractor like you or me, or an osteopath, and I think naturopaths in some states can move bones, they get on those spinal cord levels and give stimulative thrusts on those points to reset the brain.
Okay, so zone technique is a form of analysis.
It's analysis and adjusting, because it's the only thing is you can do the adjustment however you want. So, for example, zone technique means feel the head to find out what's happening in the brain, and then you know, as part of this protocol, what points in the spinal cord relate to the different brain centers. Now, most techniques are like intersegmental techniques, like a Gonstead or things like that. This is a segmental technique. This is a spinal cord stimulation technique. It just happens as a chiropractor, I stimulate the cord with a stimulative thrust, where an activator doctor might take an instrument on that point. Acupuncturist might put a needle there.
Got it. Okay, I love that. So regardless of your technique, whether you do NSA or you do Thompson or you do Goldman, you could be a student of your school and have a better form of analysis in order to adjust somebody. And then is there a post check to it as well, in order to know that you cleared it? Because, you know, I have to say, obviously I talk to lots of chiropractors and lots of students. And one of the things that I see a lot of people really suffering with is the certainty and is the confidence. So if they don't know, is this person subluxated? How do I adjust them? When do I adjust them? Did I actually accomplish what I set out to do? Then their certainty decreases, right? And then what happens is then when they get into their report of findings and they're laid out a care plan, a practice member throws up an objection. And because the chiropractor isn't really certain, and I'm going to take certainty just from a clinical standpoint, there's all kinds of other issues like money issues or things like that I'm not going to get into on this one. But just from a clinical standpoint, then they do like Monty Hall, let's make a deal. Like, well, I guess if you can't come in 3 times a week, just come in 1 time a week. And the doctor isn't willing to stand in those care instructions because they're not confident of what they're delivering. So I love knowing that doctors can learn a form of analysis that they're confident in, that they analyze and correct vertebral subluxation. They do a pre-check and a post-check to make sure what they did. The other thing that this does for those of you who are watching who aren't sure is then you can be confident in your care instructions, that you can outline 4 times a week or 3 times a week you're going to get checked, and know that if that person comes in and you do your analysis and they don't need to be adjusted, don't adjust them. Their body is doing the best it possibly can at that moment in time, and your certainty will go through the roof. One last thing before you jump in. Nadine, absolutely. Any Facebook Live I ever do is always open to questions. Lay them on and we'll answer them. So go ahead, Dr. Peter.
Now, let me answer this, Dr. Nadine, and I'd love to answer your question if the question's for me. Dr. Barber, you touched on a lot of stuff. I'm going to try to get to all that. First of all, the post-check, you recheck the back of the head to see that the brain center is clearing. So absolutely. Like, I'll tell you right now, of the 140 students I have so far or whatever the exact number is, I've told them all, look, you can still do your technique. I mean, I have people in my school. I have so many upper cervical guys who joined my school, and so many guys who were even like, I even have one guy, he was one of the top activator instructors in the country. And the list goes on. I told him, guys, you can keep doing upper cervical, keep doing activator. I'm just going to show you the principles of healing, and which I haven't even talked about in this interview yet, but we'll get to that. And then your results are going to be way, 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 way better than they were. But I will teach you guys the zone technique. Again, like Dee Dee Palmer said, there's spiritual healing, there's mental healing, and there's physical healing. In the physical healing realm, the zone technique is a technique, which I'm teaching. But I tell everyone, look, you can do whatever technique you want, use the principles I'm teaching about healing, and that will help your results. But the funny thing is 99 to 100% of the students in my school have switched over to the zone technique, and they do that too, even though I've told them that's just a small part of the big picture. That's number one. Number two, the certainty and confidence goes through the roof when you're in my school. Because Every single cell in the body is in one of those 6 systems. So if a patient sits down in front of me and they have MS or Crohn's disease or a serious autoimmune situation, or they can't get pregnant and they've been trying forever, or whatever it is, I already know whatever's manifesting in their body as an imbalance or dis-ease or whatever is due to an imbalance in one or more of those 6 systems. And every single cell in the body is in one of those 6 systems. So if I can determine, which I can, which of those 6 systems needs balancing and go about balancing them, let me say something, use the word confidence. If there's one thing my students get, it's immense confidence. And there's no Monty Hall dancing around like you referred to before. And my care plan, by the way, when a patient comes into me, I go, look, patient comes in, they say, look, Dr. Pete, like I said, I've had migraine headaches for 20 years, nothing can help it. Or I've been trying to get pregnant for 2 years, nothing's working. Or you know, they took a blood test and the doctor said their liver is not healthy at all based on the blood test. Or you know, someone has a thyroid issue, or the list goes on and on. In fact, I had one case recently, so it's on top of my head. I had a girl come in, 16-year-old girl. Her chief complaint was she was vomiting 30 times a day, every day. 16-year-old girl vomiting 30 times a day, every day, who's tried everything under the sun. They took her every freaking where. And they do drive 5 hours each way. And you know what? I have her about 3 times. I've adjusted her 4 times. I have her down to vomiting 3 times a day. And this has been going on for most of her life. So the point is this: when they come in with whatever problem, look, you know, if someone's bleeding, I don't give stitches. If someone crashes on their motorcycle, you know, go to the emergency room. If someone, God forbid, has a burst appendix, call 911. I don't do that stuff. But pretty much anything else, I am immensely confident I can help people heal from. And my care plan is simply come twice a week till you're better. That's my care plan. I don't talk about anything else. They come in, hey, listen, come twice a week till you're all better. Now, how do you know all better? I'm a chiropractor. I don't diagnose or treat disease. I don't treat symptoms. I adjust causes so the body heals, so the symptoms just go away. How do we know they're all better? Let's take the migraine headache. Well, guess what? You've had migraine headaches 20 years in a row, 7 days a week. You've tried chiropractic, acupuncture, medicine, naturopath, homeopathy. Nothing's worked. Okay, come twice a week until you can sit here and tell me my head feels perfect 24/7. But I'm also going to feel the back of their head to know that all 6 of their systems are clear. And then they're good. Now, by the way, you mentioned subluxation. Let's talk about subluxation. And you said, my students don't have this problem, but I just want to address the profession. When you talk about the uncertainty in subluxation, well, if you have an upper cervical doctor who says, why are you even adjusting below C2? And then you have a Gonstead doctor saying, well, according to we're talking about the same person. They take the same human being, the same body. The upper cervical doctor examines them and says, their atlas is PRS or whatever it's called, or ASLM or whatever. And then you have the same human being go to a Gonstead doctor. They do all their protocol. They go, hey, according to the x-rays and everything else, T8 is PRS. And then you go to a Logan Basic person. They go, no, the whole problem's in the sacrum. Then you go to a network person, says, look, unless you're preparing the meninges very gently, you shouldn't even be thrusting into this person's thoracics. So you already have the inter-examiner reliability of subluxation detection is 0% or very close to 0%. So it's no wonder so many chiropractors are insecure about finding and correcting subluxation. And by the way, if anyone's out there watching right now, they're like, hey, Dr. Pete, I'm confident. Hey, good for you. I'm happy for you. Then you don't have to, then there's really nothing else to say to you. You're great. But many, many chiropractors are super insecure about subluxation detection and correction because of what I just said. And again, the inter-examiner reliability of subluxation detection, if it's not 0, it's like hovering around 0. So I'm with you on that. And I do agree that the doctor's certainty and confidence plays a huge role in that patient's healing.
Absolutely. So Nadine asked, how about obtaining patients, ones that don't come into the office? And Nadine, are you asking about marketing there? Are you asking about how do I attract new practice members? Because if that's the case, I'm happy to address that. Probably not on this interview because we're talking about clinical more clinical stuff, but I'd be more than happy to direct you to a bunch of Facebook Lives that I've done on that. And or also I'd be happy to send you those links in your Facebook. So just comment back and let me know if that's what you're looking for. And you also had stated, why do we make a deal? Surgeons don't. I don't know why we do that. I don't do that. And I don't coach people to do the make a deal. I'm just saying it's a really common phenomenon in our profession. And I want to help to solve that. So we're not doing Monty Hall, let's make a deal anymore, which is why I do these interviews and why I have the boot camp and do all of that to help my colleagues to improve our profession as well, to help a lot more people. She said, how can his school do this attraction and confidence booster? I'll answer part of that. And then Dr. Peter, I'll turn it over to you. And it has to do with knowing that when you check somebody, you know where they're subluxated. Where is their body experiencing a weakness? What can I do to help this individual? And then you adjust them, and then you post-check them to make sure that you did what you said you were going to do. That's what I'm specifically talking about. But Peter, I'll let you answer that as well.
What exact part of the question would you like me to address?
So she said, how can your school do this attraction and confidence booster? So basically, let's talk about how are you seeing doctors change in their confidence as a result of going through your school? And I'll read Dr. Michael's message. He said, my confidence is serious and genuine now. It's so refreshing and exciting.
Okay, so a couple of things. So I wish that, Michael's in my school, and I wish a lot of other doctors who are in my school would chime in, because their confidence, what they're reporting to me is their confidence is going through the roof based on taking my class. And the thing is, believe it or not, and I was actually surprised about this, but when I started my school, the first 2-3 months, a lot of people were saying, hey, Dr. Pete, I just go to work, I just take the vibration of your confidence into my office, knowing what can be done. So that plays part of it. Now, as far as attracting patients, that's Barbara's forte. My practice is very busy. I have my own ways of looking at that, but I will just say one thing, and this is my message to all chiropractors. Never, ever say, how do I attain patients? How do I get patients? I would never, ever use the words, I got 5 new patients today. I got 10 new patients. I got news for you. They got you. You didn't get them. If you think that patient's doing you a favor by walking in your office, your vibration is backwards. They're doing themselves a major favor. I once had this patient, she came into me. She was on a list for a liver transplant, okay? She was on a list for a liver transplant. That was her chief complaint, all right? We kept working, balancing. Her doctor was like bewildered. You don't need a transplant anymore. This lady referred about 35 people to me. One day she came in, she goes, hey, Dr. P, can I get some kind of discount? I referred 35 people to you. I said, listen, I sincerely appreciate the referrals, because I do. That's really sweet of you, and please refer more people. But I don't give discounts for referrals, because you're doing your friends a favor when you're sending them in to me. You're not doing me a favor, doing them a favor. So Dr. Nadine, it's important to have, in not a cocky or conceited or arrogant way, but in a very confident way, like, hey, you're coming in here, you're going to get helped. Now, I just see a question on the screen. I guess Barbara sees it too. All techniques work. Oh, it disappeared for me.
Oh, sorry. I assumed you could see it on your end.
Okay, now I can see it.
You said all techniques.
Sorry, you want to read it?
All techniques work no matter. And I personally believe in the VSC, and I personally believe the health of the patient is also based on patient attitude. Absolutely. And I don't know the zone technique, but I got to believe that if somebody isn't believing in their healing potential, that it's going to show up somewhere in this technique. And I'm simply basing that on studying Thurman Fleet from a different perspective, on giving us the model of how our thoughts become reality. And that is so true. So it's exciting to see that there is a technique whereby we can analyze what are their thoughts about healing. That is for sure going to come up in their presentation of their health. I mean, it's impossible not to.
I'm going to say this. A lot of doctors that I mentor. First of all techniques work. I know why all techniques work. Does anyone else know why? I don't mean Barbara, I'm sure you know, but I think a lot of chiropractors say all techniques work. They're not exactly sure why, but I do teach that in my school. By the way, a lot of chiropractors I mentor, they say, hey, Dr. Pete, how do I know the patient has faith? How do I know? Hey, listen, I don't need a patient to give me a whole speech about how much faith they have. If they show up in my office when I tell them to, it's enough faith for me. If they get themselves on my table twice a week, they're making the trip to my office and paying me, because I don't take insurance. I'm 100% cash from day one. I mean, of course, I take credit card, but I'm an all cash practice, and I've been from day one. If someone's showing up in my office twice a week and paying me, that's enough of a display of faith for me. So just want to say that.
They're there.
Exactly. Now, another thing that Dr. Fleet specializes in is the principle of contacting and directing innate, which is very foreign to most straight chiropractors and most chiropractors of the BJ lineage, which is fine. Hey, listen, I'm going to repeat. If you're watching this and you have amazing results and you know what you're doing, fine. I'm not trying to teach you anything. Great. However, contacting and directing innate is very, very, very important. For example, when a patient comes into me and their glandular system doesn't work, and if it's a woman, she has endometriosis, or she has horrible period cramps, and her blood sugar's messed up, and her thyroid's messed up, and she's always tired, and she can't sleep, and she has no enthusiasm to be alive, I have to balance her glandular system, which I know how to do on a physical level. But giving her the image of perfect glandular health, there's a way to contact and direct innate, which I teach in my class. It's a little involved for a little interview here. But, a lot of people say, like, hey, if you just relieve all the subluxations, innate will take care of everything else. Well, according to Sid Williams, in one of his own small autobiographical writings, Sid Williams said, I'm a fan of Sid Williams, by the way. I like Sid. He was the president of my school when I was there. I'm a Sid fan all the way. With that said, Sid said that when he first opened his school, it was around 1974, I believe, he had a lot of problems in his life, and his body just fell apart. He was non-functional. He couldn't even leave the house. I think it lasted for about a year or so. And his wife, Nell Williams, a great upper cervical doctor, she had to put him in the car and drive him around every night just so he can get out of the house. That was in one of Sid's autobiographies. The point is, his wife is Nell Williams. She's adjusting his upper cervicals every freaking day. The guy is not subluxated. So he's not subluxated, and innate is there working, but meanwhile, the guy is completely non-functional. So what's going on? I teach in my school how to contact and direct this power, giving it the proper messages, and it will carry out those messages in the body. It's very powerful information. Dr. Fleet was an expert at it. And again, if anyone's like, wait a second, I'm a straight chiropractor, I just believe in innate. Hey, listen, I'll just reiterate, if you're happy, you're happy. But if you're wondering, really people flying in to see you, driving 5 hours each way, less than 20% musculoskeletal, I want to learn this. Contacting and directing innate is a huge skill.
And I think with that, going back to Nadine's comment, I'm thinking about recently when I was at Kawa Sushi, and Dr. Bobby was showing us case after case after case of these severely subluxated kids, right? Who have, whether it's cerebral palsy or all kinds of problems. Those children don't have a belief about chiropractic care. Those children don't have an outward understanding of a chiropractic adjustment or innate intelligence. But when she touches them and she adjusts them, it's kind of like what you're talking about, is directing innate without the awareness, the conscious awareness of that practice member that their body can get better. Because those kids don't know. And we've all seen individuals who, they don't have the mental capacity to either believe or not believe, and yet they get adjusted and they improve. So I think the practice member's attitude is definitely important from a standpoint of when somebody doesn't believe they can get better.
If you know how to, if the doctor knows how to handle whoever comes in front of them, it's really a breeze. For example, like if a patient comes into me and they say, hey, Dr. Pete, listen, like for example, I had this patient once, and she had endometriosis, and they had surgery scheduled for her. And she came in for her knee, actually. And she said, the surgery for endometriosis is in 3 weeks, but I'm coming for my knee. I checked her out. I told her what was going on. I said I was confident we could fix her up. She said, look, it doesn't really make much sense to me, but I'm coming for my knee anyway, so let's do it. Within 3.5 weeks, all her symptoms in her abdomen were gone. She went for her pre-op exam, and the gynecologist said, this is bewildering because your cervix, uterus, everything is completely healthy here, which makes no sense because this doesn't just go away by itself. And it's also kind of like incurable unless you do this procedure. Anyway, she's like, yeah, this chiropractor fixed it. And the gynecologist called me up. The point, anyway, that's a side story, which is kind of cool. But her husband came to me and he said to me, he had some problems. And he said, look, he actually was an MD. He was a dermatologist, and he was having severe chest pain. But he went to a cardiologist. He was fine in that regard. He was having severe chest pain, and he said, "Listen, I'm super skeptical. I'm super skeptical because I'm a medical doctor." And he wasn't a holistic MD. He was the opposite. And he's like, I saw what you did for my wife, which is pretty amazing, but I'm still super skeptical. I said, you know what? I said, I'm glad you're skeptical. My favorite patients are skeptical patients because skeptical patients want results, and that's what we get here. So I'm not going to bore you with theories and explanations and explain all the technique I do. You come here, you show up twice a week, and I expect your chest to feel perfect. And, I think it was 2 weeks later, a week and a half later, he felt perfect. And he was coming in for maintenance, regularly after that. So it's knowing how to interact with the person in front of you. If they show up in your office and they're paying 99.9% of the chance, 99.9% chance, you can help them get well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to encourage everyone, life expresses intelligence, right? Life expresses intelligence. If you don't teach your practice members anything else than that, please teach them. Your body has an amazing capacity to be well. And I'm so excited to be partnered with you on this journey to restore it to its natural state. I mean, that's what this is all about, is helping individuals get back to their natural state and stay there for a lifetime to live to their optimum potential, for sure. So I know we're closing out here. So I just want to encourage all of you, if you'd like to find out more, please go to zonetechnique.com. I'm pretty sure Dr. Peter would be fine with this. You can also find him, Peter Goldman, on Facebook. There are several different Peter Goldmans, so if you're not quite sure, he'll be tagged in.
There's a picture of me playing ice hockey.
There you go. So Peter Goldman playing ice hockey. And you can send them a Facebook message, get in touch with them, find out more. I promise I'll make sure that I bring him back on another Facebook Live and we can dive into, because we didn't even get into this, the phases. What'd you call it? The phases of healing? No.
I just want to say on that, we talk about healing and how it works. First of all, let me just say, I'm a chiropractor. I love chiropractic. I love getting adjusted. I get adjusted frequently. I love adjusting people. Chiropractic is my single favorite physical type of healing on the planet. So let's just be clear about that. With that said, I did say, and I'll say again, that I do teach the basic principle of healing that explains why healing works when it works and why healing doesn't work when it doesn't work. Let's face it, there are people, let's say there's someone in China. I mean, listen, when I was in chiropractic school, I used to see bumper stickers on the cars in the parking lot. Subluxations kill. Really, subluxations kill? Are you sure about that? The first subluxation was relieved in 1895. Were people dropping dead before 1895? On top of that, some might say, well, people were manipulating the spine in ancient China, ancient Egypt for thousands of years. Yes, but that was a manipulation, not a subluxation relief, not a adjustment. Because D.D. Palmer said that what he was teaching as chiropractic was a specific adjustment to open up nerve flow in a specific area, not just a gross manipulation. So my point is this. There are people, let's say there's someone in China, they've been getting acupuncture since they're a little kid, they do Tai Chi. They live to 106 years old, they're totally healthy. They've never been checked for subluxation in their life. So according to some chiropractors who, in my opinion, have a narrow vision, would say, well, how could that be? Because they must be subluxated. Well, you have to wonder about people who do acupuncture, get homeopathy, do other stuff, and are totally healthy. And you can also understand why the many different chiropractic techniques work. But anyway, just a little thing to think about. I know we're closing up. We're not going to, that's a whole hour conversation. I'm just happy to help anyone who's interested in making their practice way more successful, help people they never thought they could help before. And again, like Barbara said, zonetechnique.com. And yeah, on Facebook, it's Peter Goldman. And there's a picture of me standing with actually a pro ice hockey player. He's one of my really good friends. I was playing in a pickup game, and I begged him. I'm like, he's an NHL player. I said, please play in my pickup game. I wanted to just be on the ice with an NHL player. And he's like, come on, Pete. And I begged him, and he finally gave in. So I played a few shifts with an NHL player. And then after the game, we took a picture while we were coming off the ice. So
nice. That's always good to have those kind of pictures. And Nadine, I love what you wrote. Chiropractic is communication through touch, and it's the only healthcare discipline that is. Yeah, I mean, it's our unique, we got it going on as chiropractors for sure. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Goldman, for joining. If you're here and you haven't RSVP'd yet to the women's reception tonight at Caremore Chiropractic at Dr. Kristen's office, I'd love to see you. So shoot me a message right now. I can still get you in. It's my thing. So I'll make sure that there's plenty of room for you. And if you are coming tonight, I'll see you then. Take care, everybody. God bless you. Thanks again, Dr. Peter, and have a great day.
Barbara, thank you. I love your sincerity.
Yeah.
I love your sincerity, and I love your enthusiasm. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. See you later. Bye.